So,
Привет.
what's up?
We are.
What's up? What's the
Oh.
news?
What's taking your float? My brain's gone. I've just done I just done a book review for about 3 hours ago. I just did a book review for a literature festival in Hartford, which is like not far from my mum's house. Which was kind of weird. I had to talk about my book and how it came about, which was quite nice. So I've just done that, which was very English when I got the pictures. People sitting in the blazing sun with their sandwiches, listening to me talk on a TV and
Twitch.
talking about electrocution and torture and the Russians and stuff. And generally, the questions I got were probably one of the best I've had in a while, actually. Really
Right.
interesting questions I got. So, but that keeps all Ukraine in the public eye. What have you been up to today?
Well, today actually, I got up early to go to what was supposed to be a funeral for a young British soldier. The memorial is tomorrow, so I got a dry run. I'm literally getting up, getting all the camera ready, getting out of the house, getting across town, getting to right where I was supposed to be, waiting patiently, only to basically be consoling a mom, saying, "Baby, if I got to do it 10 times over to make you happy, we're going to take care of you." You know, Sean, a year ago when we were honoring Swampy, right behind that was another defender. And I made this point to our viewers last night. People may not recognize the work we're doing, that it's not always about an article. It's sometimes about this other stuff, that like filming a family's funeral that has no one there to see them, and they happen to be able to get someone in country, like happened related to both of those events, in a way, quickly be able to, get the media tools together so that people abroad, especially for, foreign help of any kind, not just the fighters, but the aid workers, that sometimes being able to have a team that will go down and go, absolutely, what, just look, you focus on getting through, we'll take care of you. So it turned out that she's actually very well taken care of by a lot of the Whitman Foundation Circle and the Azov guys
Sorry,
around.
I'm not laughing at you. I just see some
I,
Statue
I,
of Liberty's come up.
yeah,
Yeah, there's like, where the
Statue of Lib-
heart is. Sorry, I wasn't laughing, but it caught me by surprise. I just watched a bunch load of
Wait, did we
Statue of
see a
Liberty.
Statue of Liberty icon just float?
Yeah, about 7
That's
of them
wild.
came up. It just threw me then. I was listening to what you were saying, and suddenly I got this
How you
Statue of
do that?
Liberty.
Let me see. Wait, if I do
There you
that,
go.
it does. That's cool.
Just threw me a bit there.
Oh, say, can you see the racists in the White House and the Epstein documents? So what's up? In the rest of the country, we had missile attacks this week. I've been on for short videos directly, and I was actually live during one of those attacks, but this was big. But we've had a big week, not just for us, but also strikes in Russia, including St. Petersburg just got hit. Louis and Zelensky walked right out and go, "Hey, did you see what we hit?" No, but
It is.
that's big.
Have you seen the Have you seen the latest one with the? He said, "Well, if he's taken, where was it? Black. I knew I'd forget. My bloody brain's gone.
Saturday.
It's been that sort of day today. Let me guess. Yeah. Anyway, he said, "Well, if you've taken, it wasn't Kopiansk because that's the other one. Konstantinov."
KPS. Yeah. If you want, if you have, get down here. We'll have a settlement.
We'll have a chat if you've taken Konstantinivka, and something no reply like. So yeah.
Right.
Well, I literally. We just had two ice scanners in early in this morning. So literally we just got out, boom, straight away this morning. So we just had a couple of those in, but hold on. I've got some feedback here. 2 seconds.
No
there we go. I've got so we had 2 ice scanners in this morning. I wrote an article this morning about where we sit 6 months. I thought that's gone down really well actually today. I think that surprised a lot of people, talking about, I think it's escalating. Even Putin said a couple of days ago to his team that he wants to extend the buffer zone now that Ukraine have bigger weapons, which means probably mobilization and probably another offensive somewhere, and they're going to keep pushing. So with the same old shit, the same old talk. more missiles, more soldiers, more pushes. He doesn't give a fuck. He's going to keep coming. So
Right.
I wrote an article today about it. 6 months in, and where we see it going for the next 6 months. I don't see any peace. I don't know about you, but I don't see any peace for the next 6 months. I think it's getting worse.
Well, I've noticed that you've been pointing that out, especially with the escalation of these what Zelensky, I think, appropriately called cynical attacks, because they don't serve a strategic purpose other than to
No.
demoralize people and punish people. But also there's been two parts for us to talk about a little bit tonight, which is this supposed threat of intelligence warning to Poland, and then also the northern possibility of trying to agitate the either Chernihiv or with Belarus on our northern border,
Mm.
both of which you can see our armed forces, meaning Ukrainians, are taking them seriously, right? And let's you pick which one you want to run with, the northern border with Belarus or the supposed threat on Poland.
Well, I personally don't think Belarus is going to get involved in the war. I'm probably with Sersky on that. I think they've got more value
Hmm.
of just shifting troops around and drawing troops from critical areas in Ukraine and also NATO as well. So I don't think really he trusts his own military. I think most of them come across the border. I think they'd probably turn around and fight for Ukraine. He's only 2 years ago. What was it, 3 years ago? He was in a coup. So I'm not sure
Right.
they're in a position to do anything. I think he's just a useful tool for Putin. And I think Poland is essentially Russia's trying to make more friction with Poland after the White Eagle retraction and the naming of the Ukrainian battalions that's upset Poland. So I don't know if they're going to lead to anything. Poland's been at the centre of this since the start of the full-scale invasion. They've arrested Russian agents, putting cameras on the railway tracks on the routes in, and this is not anything new. If Russia does something, then they've already been caught doing things. And what did NATO do? Not very much. didn't didn't
Right.
do very much, like normal. So I don't know. My main concern really is that there's no real wiggle room for Russia to escalate anymore without using conventional weapons or nukes, or just doing much of the same of what they're doing already. There's no real,
What's the kitchen sink concept, right? It's the
yeah,
since I can't get what I want, I'm just going to destroy as much as possible. So,
yeah.
like I
And now
can
he's
understand that.
strangulating. My point was, in the article they were strangling Crimea. Essentially got it under the southern corridor. You know,
Right.
is it going to get? Is it going to get to a point where Ukraine really is going to want to stop, or is it going to? It certainly can't trust the U.S. administration. So, with that in mind, both sides feel that they can still carry on. It's like,
Right.
until that dynamic changes, and more so Ukraine now. More Ukraine's got the wind at its back, regain the initiative. If that comes to a point where it can physically take Crimea, none of them are going to want to stop. So I can't see it this year ending at all. There's no political will to end the war. There's no political thing that I can see can be done, especially as Putin's now, and I hate to use the word, he's not losing, but he's not winning either, and he's certainly not going to extend his buffer zone. So
That brings up a very important point, though, that was announced this last week, which is that the casualty counts have been measured to be at above 2 million now. Now, again, to qualify for our viewers to remember what we mean by casualty counts, we mean unable to participate in the fight, either by death, obviously, serious maiming and or some sort of physical incapacitation where you're not able to be in the fight. And there, of course, the liars, I noticed it didn't take long for the liars to go out and say, look, at 2 million Ukrainian deaths, like, no bled. The significant number, almost 4-1, is Russian. And I looked at the numbers that were put out by was it just ISW? I forget who else was chiming on this week, but essentially, um, yes, they're relevant here, obviously. But when you defend home turf, when you defend your nation as opposed to invading, it's a whole different calculation. So if you're at home turf level expending 4-1 the invader, mull the debts. You're doing something that's the unheard of, and they're able to keep doing it. That was the mission, right, with Fedorov. Pile the numbers up, right? Delete his mess.
50,000. Yeah, the
Yeah,
industrial Dimko talks about the industrial killing of Russians. You know, it's an industrial style killing. He wants to get to
right,
50,000 per month.
right,
So,
right.
you know, that can have detrimental effects on your mental ability. That's what, you know, that's coming out from Dima's words, you know, that, you know, you've got to get your focus right, which is why they use words like delete. It takes you away from the actual job in hand. So, yeah, I mean,
Sure.
it's when you get your head around it, it's phenomenal what the Ukrainians are doing. I mean, now you could even say it's probably 10-1, 15-1. I mean, 4-1 seems pretty lame when you're talking about a 100-kilometer wide kill zone. And back in my day before drones, it was 3-1, 4-1. So,
Hmm.
you know, now with the advent of drones and the way they use them, you're probably looking at 10 to 15-1 if you're an
Hmm.
attacking force. 15, you're going to lose to every one of the defending force. So it suits Ukraine at the moment to draw the Russians in, and that's working to a point. Certainly, they're going to have to mobilize if they want to extend their buffer zone, as Putin said this week. And, you know, if they're going to keep trying to advance, they're going to have to mobilize. They're losing more than they're actually recruiting. So, you know, that policy of just paying high money for contracts, if they're not meeting the requirements at some point, that's got to give. They've got to get more people in. So I think that's where we currently sit. So I can't see. And another thing is Russia hasn't achieved any of its strategic aims for invading. So
That's the point, is
is it
that,
going to stop?
again, yeah, if you don't have a strategic goal, and this is, again, why the cynical strikes term keeps resonating so hard with what we see here, is that you're expending your resources. You're hoping for what? I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
at least on a certain level, as a soldier who's had to play that out at the ground level, you don't just kind of wander forward or wander back for no reason. There has to be an objective.
Yeah, they're not meeting any of them. And now, if they lose Crimea, as I said to this panel earlier, Crimea's the jewel in Putin's crown. I mean, if they lose Crimea, that's a Putin killer. That's 20 years of his reign gone. That's essentially the SMO done for. So it's
Right.
quite interesting to see what's going on at the moment because, you know, I don't think Ukraine even has to invade Crimea at the moment. Once it blows the bridge and keeps doing what it's doing, you know, it's going to be down to Putin to try and rescue Crimea. And look how long he's waited before he's accepted there's a fuel crisis. I mean, this has been going on for months.
Right.
They've done nothing. They still do the same things. They still transport logistics the same way. They just haven't got a clue. They're not adapting. They're not innovating. It's the same tactics. So, you know, his only resort is to sacrifice another million Russians because that's Putin. He's not going to give up until he's forced to give up. So, no,
Right.
I can't see anything changing for the rest of the year. I think we're going to be seeing much more heavier attacks by Russia as they stockpile and bring it in. And I think if anyone's talking peace at the moment, they're living on cloud cuckoo land, to be honest, because you certainly don't hear it here. And
Right.
peace is becoming, the word peace is becoming like Putin's going to die next week because he's seriously ill, or the Russian economy is going to collapse by Thursday. You know, they've been that for 4 years, and now peace is pretty much just going the same route, really. It's can't really see why would Ukraine want to stop if it's got a sniff of taking back Crimea. I just don't understand it. So yeah,
Also, there's a point at which I always use the comparative, a house that's on fire but not incinerated, a house that's on fire but not consumed. So, at what point do you stop defending and putting out that fire? Because if you don't, it's going to keep coming back. the metaphor works on two parts. There's the homeowner, the Ukrainian people, and then there's the firefighters, the collective West that's throwing the resources in. And I like that metaphor the first time I kind of saw it or visualized it for a moment because I thought, well, wait a minute. If we're going to actually stop to protect something, why would we stop before we finish the task? Because we're just gonna have to do it again and again and again. We have to
Mm.
actually put the fucking fire out, right? That's you don't get like almost done and go, I don't know if I don't know if I want to put more water in this. I don't see the
I
like
don't
it's
know how
not
it's
it's not
working.
completely out, it's not out yet. I mean, and people were talking like that, right? So having that issue really matters. I want to do a couple things here real quick for our friends because we've been talking about this platform Substack, and one, make sure you're subscribed to Shaun's account. If you could do a paid subscription, it helps a lot for Shaun to focus on content instead of bills. When the bills are covered because your generosity, and I want to frame it differently, which part of why I wanted to interrupt for a minute on this, and I think you'll appreciate this. I know you. Um, like I was talking about Frank yesterday, we really like incorporating what we're doing here with news gathering and the dissemination with you directly. So when you tell us what you want to know about these things, this kind of completes that cycle, which is what the paid subscription really should be more about. It's not just that like you're putting money in there. Okay, great. It's that we want that interactivity between news gathering and dissemination and you receiving it on the other side. It helps us to do our job better because when we're out seeing all the data in person, we will remember what you want to know, what you may not know well enough, etc. So please, if you have a question in the commentary, put it down here, and we are reading at the same time. I gather them like always, and there you
I'm
go.
pointing at it because I'm lower than you.
It's
You're up
stop.
there.
It's stop. It's stop. It's
I'm
stop.
down here.
It's like the Brady Bunch, but with two.
It is,
Uh,
yeah.
Interesting. All right. Let's see if that works. Okay, everybody. So if you have questions down in space, a couple more things about what's going on in the country. The ballistics arrival in Moscow area was a big deal, but some people noted, and I think it's appropriate to note, that it wasn't that it landed and destroyed everything. The Kremlin's still standing, but it's the subtext that it did happen and it did land, and haha, next will be something more impactful. Literally, that worked actually.
Yeah, it's been a sad week, to be honest. With
No, I mean us hitting Moscow, my friend.
oh, sorry, Moscow. No, I
I'm
mean,
saying, so let me re-roll it. It's okay. So we have ballistics that we are making that have hit in Moscow area, right?
oh yeah,
And
yeah.
part of the narrative, sorry, it's okay. Part of the narrative was that the ballistics landed there, but to what effect, in other words? And one of the first arguments was like, no, it's that it happened. In other words, wait until it like, because you know how it is that like that bracketing effect. You're looking for that targeting.
It's I honestly, I just been talking about that. One of the questions I had from the audience and the panel earlier was, what do Russians think of what's going on? And I had to explain to them that they're not worried about 25,000 predominantly Russian-speaking Ukrainians being massacred in Mariupol. What's
Mhm.
had more of an impact is firstly the throttling of Western apps, and then the fuel crisis, which is mounted on top of that. Not to mention now that you only, as a Russian, the only thing you can look out of your bedroom window and see the shit that's going on now, which
Mhm.
a lot of Russians now are doing, which is
Right.
what you're seeing on. So, I mean, is Russia going to collapse? Is Putin going to collapse? I don't think so. I don't think we're there. I mean, we're seeing a lot of stuff on the internet, and we're certainly seeing a lot of big-lipped housewives complaining
What
about
what if
in fuel.
what if the metric in the language is wrong? If we said, for instance, did America have to collapse to be driven out of Iraq? Did America have to collapse to be driven out of Afghanistan? No. Um, to get the empire to leave did not require collapse at every turn, right?
No, I think you're right. I mean, you're right. There's a limit somewhere. I mean, where that
Mhm.
limit's going to come, certainly. You're seeing a lot of anger. I mean, we keep saying this. The stringent laws in Russia, in the reporting and what you could say, and even with the throttling of Western apps, there's still people pumping out pictures of
Yeah.
Ukrainians. Here's Ukrainian missiles
Even with
coming
the
in.
apps, I still get the Russian blats that want to come up on threads and argue how Russia's not so bad. So they
Russians
have
fighting
internet.
at petrol stations is the big one this week. So we've got a
Yeah,
week's
right.
worth of, I mean,
Arguments at the station,
Hunger
arguments in
Games.
line.
It's like Hunger Games at the moment. So, I mean, at what point are Russians going to just say this is getting stupid, And it won't be because, of the ethnic cleansing or the torture campaign in the east of Ukraine that
Mm.
do it. It'll be something like we haven't got our Instagram, or we've run out of fuel, or we're Russia. What the fuck is going on? It won't be anything to do with
Right.
the fact the mass killing of Ukrainians, and that's what I was sort of saying to people today. There is no, they're imperialist by nature. There are people out there that don't want this war, but generally, most people are more pissed off because they can't get Instagram or their WhatsApp or Telegram. That's
Right.
generally what's pissed a lot of them off. But I think you're seeing that mutiny now, with people posting stuff which they shouldn't be posting. So it's quite an interesting time in Russia at the moment. But I don't think there's going to be a mass collapse anytime soon. And we'll see when I think he's on about cancelling these local regional elections, which is quite interesting considering they push for Zelensky's illegitimacy when it comes to being the president of Ukraine. So, and they're not even under martial law, and they want to cancel elections because Putin's losing support. So it's quite an interesting time to view Russia at the moment, to see if they're just, we keep poking them a bit. Maybe they will spontaneously combust. Who knows? How much more can, St. Petersburg and Moscow take? They're getting hit week in, week out now. So, and those
Well, I think that's my central question. How much more can they take? So what I'd like to do is keep testing that question
keep poking them.
daily. Yeah, just hit them a lot. And I think it's important to also state something that, I see this here and there. I don't know if you guys see this abroad, but the kind of sentiment and awareness that the more you hit Ukraine with these missiles, yes, people are being killed, but the forces and the developers are able to keep getting more information and say, okay, we missed X amount this time, but next time we will try this adjustment. And the fact that we have a development of air defense systems that is now cooperative with outside partners, including at private company level, right? The fact that this is the testing ground for other countries to understand what they need that can only be understood here. These are things that Russia has actually given by circumstance to Ukraine's future that are going to be um,
Yeah.
the word I'm looking for. That they're not going to be in favor for you, Russia's objectives long term. But let me pivot to a bigger thing I was just alluding to about the aggression towards Poland. Latvia says they see a growing risk of Russian escalation against NATO. Um, I think we've discussed this before, certainly in different abstracts, but what does that look like should be a very key problem for policymakers and, in many ways, civilians, because the idea that tanks are going to roll through like we saw in 2022,
Mm.
that's not, number one, that's not doable. Okay. So it's going to have to be hybrid. It's going to be hybrid warfare. It's like, remember the punchline was like, what are you going to do? Invade? Um, so if y'all remember when we started
It's
seeing
going to be asymmetric now. It's
it's
going to
going to
be
be
asymmetric.
asymmetrical. But what do you think these saber rattles and these concerns, and they are being mirrored by NATO forces and the Western intelligence?
I think we're getting a little bit more harsher. I think, we're starting to wake up. Even Britain's starting to look at its long-term plan for Russia. So I think people are starting to wake up. It's taken 4 years, for God's sake, but I think people are starting to wake up. Certainly, it won't be a full on like we said, but it will just keep plugging away, keep pushing the boundaries. Asymmetric war, terrorism, you name it, cyber attacks. They're going to be doing everything now to try and push and divide, and what they want is fracture. I mean, Trump this week just went on NATO again for some reason, absolutely bonkers. Went on a rant about NATO. We don't get any money out of it. I can quote you all the things that he said. It's not reciprocal. It's a waste of money. Yeah, America called for that's not right. The Article 5, the only time it's ever been um, issued.
9/11.
Yeah, 9/11. So it's the only time it's ever sort of ever been used, and that was America that called it, and we went in support of America. Soldiers died, and Trump's just poo-pooed it and wrote it off this week as it's not reciprocal. We don't get anything out of it. You're the only one that's used it. It's like, hold on a minute. So it's pretty disgusting, and that only benefits Putin. That's just turning a knife, twisting the knife into twisting the knife into Europe, because Putin's major adversary is NATO, and he knows it, and Trump knows it. And now he's pushing Putin's agenda, which is what I've always said to you. Every time Putin gets on the back foot, in comes Trump and starts to wanting to save Putin again. He's giving him cash injections by relaxing sanctions, and he pulled humanitarian aid. Straight away, as soon as he came in, he stopped military aid. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I wrote about
so
today.
I put out an article this week. For those who don't know, I put out an article this week about Kiel Institute data. One, I explain what it is because it's been kind of my home base for a while. But the June 2nd recently released gave me a good look at what we have not been getting from America. And it shows clearly, definitively, that Donald Trump cut off the aid. What it then shows, and it's the first time it's shown in the reports, is the conversion to the PURL or PURL program, which is where Europe buys material from America. So you no longer have Congress saying we're going to allocate X amount of material, financial support, offset, etc., like we've done in the previous packages with USAI and the PDA authorizations method, or the dismissed version that was before that, the Lend-Lease. So those things are gone. And now, why does that matter? Because in the case of PURL, yes, some orders can come in through America because essentially it's just not paid for by Americans. It's a method that'll work. But the problem that people missed in the first part is that Republicans voted against American districts that made material and did not put jobs in those districts. That now you're not magically going to suddenly go create jobs there. We're way behind.
Yeah,
And the Kiel Institute shows it.
it's even Mertz was saying.
By the way, the echo is me coming back through Shaun's stuff. I see Naomi just responded. You have really bad echo. It's hearing feedback on your laptop.
On my laptop, is it?
Or something, yeah. Something switched.
Hold on. Let me turn. That happened yesterday, actually.
It's gone now. Whatever it is, it's gone now. See how magically my hands did not move and it all magically solved.
That's weird.
Thank you, Naomi, by the way.
It is it's something we've got to move away from America. It's becoming a little bit.
I did see Shaun long time ago, a galaxy far, far away. I lived in this place called America.
No.
I have moved away from America.
You American?
In a couple of hours, I'm gonna go live with a very interesting 250 special. It's gonna be. I'm probably gonna get arrested and locked up, so you don't want to miss it. But it'll be fun. It'll be legal, but there's a new standard, so 8647. Anyway, see you soon. But the creation of independence. Today is Independence Day. Nezalesnosti. And so we know what it means here in Ukraine to have independence. August 24th is Independence Day here in Ukraine. People feel it. People are old enough to remember being subjects of the Soviet Union and being in the Soviet army and being in these, um, these conditions that they don't really self-fulfill. And now they do. And they're having to die for it. And
So
then there's America.
what's your question?
It's rhetorical, bro.
Ah, I
Brits.
was
Oh,
getting
wait.
loaded.
Speaking of, I have a thing for tonight called the King's Speech. I forgot you're British. Y'all get to do it differently than we do. So we
Hey,
had to
look,
get King Charles to come over. King
we
Charles
we
arrived to tell us how to get democracy right.
you know, we left you to run your own country, and look what you did, put flipping the orange blob in there.
I did fine.
And this is what we need to get rid of this orange blob.
Is the weather better where you're at? Because it was hot
It's
until
been
about a day ago.
thunder. You got a load of rain, didn't you? I saw the reports of
We did yesterday. We got really interesting storms in the last 2 days.
Yeah, we've just had the storms today. So literally we've just had sort of the first rains. I would have loved to have done it outside, talk to you outside, but yeah, it's been a bit sort of English weather today with, well, probably tropical
Yeah.
weather actually. It's been hitting down with the rain and stuff. So, but yeah, no, I totally agree with you. It's, I don't know where we're going. I don't think there's going to be any peace. I don't think there's going to be essentially uh, any political will to want to stop this war. Certainly, certainly, right in my article, I've got people thinking about whether Ukraine would stop it. Somebody said to me, Ukraine would probably sit there and put unreasonable demands on Russia, which would be a nice, refreshing change, wouldn't it? It's like,
Right.
that
Our
would make
friends are not asking any questions. They are very satisfied. Their bellies are full with content. They have no questions. And I hear echo again.
Is that you? Is that you echoing off my mic or me?
Yeah, something where it hears my voice on the outside. That's why I do these heavy cans.
Yeah, let me try my headphones on.
I'm
I
going to
don't
talk
know
about
what's
a couple
going on
things.
there.
Yeah, no problem. We have time.
I have
If
no.
you folks have questions for our last, while we're on here a little bit, we'll take your
Yeah, let me put
comments
these.
or
That's
Dobry
better.
din. Dobry din. Okay, so I'm going to shift you from the news I mentioned yesterday, but you weren't on with me, so I want to do it with you here. Two things, because they both involve event we were there. Made in Russia panel at the War Museum we went to. I have agreed to talk with some of the organizers of that event for us to create content and get the word out there for our Western audience to help us boost that activity. That's part one. Part two is that the War Museum, Luke and I went to hang out at the War Museum for quite some time yesterday, in fact. Got a great tour of everything. And we fully intend and have now been authorized to create basically interview, schedules and sessions around the War Museum using the entire location for whatever. I even was like, so if I'm doing this interview, what room would you think I should go do this in? Oh, well, let's go over here. It was fantastic. When we said, well, what we're doing right now with our set, because we have some javelin shells and, oh, we can get all that stuff if you want it. I was like, ah. So Shaun had this journalism thing for 4 years of trying to get that kind of aid for us to tell good stories about what's really vital here. Voila, they really wanted to do it. And yeah, you, me, Luke, and these other folks are going to do some interesting stuff. Dibco will be joining us in the southern area where you're at when you come back. And we just got a lot of film to do, bro. And I really appreciate you and I working together with these other friends and just organically creating the news for our friends to learn, digest, and get that out there.
That's what it's about, though, isn't it? It's about pushing each other to get Ukraine into the public eye and keep Ukraine in the spotlight when it's not getting much spotlight at the moment, because someone like Trump will put himself as a Jesus Christ in a meme and take up the news for the bandwidth for the week. So, no, it is about, trying to keep Ukraine in the public eye and doing as many interviews as we can. We got some. I just did one with Cormac Murphy, who's a former British diplomat, yesterday, and that was quite a good, different sort of not battlefield but diplomacy, which is we're going to go more in depth into that. The that side of it when he comes on next time. The interview is really just to explain who Cormac was to people that didn't know who he was, and what his background was in strategic communications. So he's got a good insight into what's going on at the moment, especially regarding propaganda and other people as well. We did Dimco. We're going to get a few more people on, maybe the bear we talked about, if we can find time to get up there. But yeah, it's about really keep pumping out articles, getting on the news as much as possible over the next few weeks. I'm going to Portugal this week for a seminar, which is going to be really interested in Lisbon, talking about Ukraine. So only my second time to Portugal. Somebody said to me, it's really beautiful. I said, I can't remember. I was just on the beach last time with someone I didn't particularly want to be there with. So to put it bluntly.
Well,
So
that'll change your vacation real quick, you know?
I hope
You
she's not
suddenly show up
watching.
in paradise and you're hanging out with like, oh, them, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't particularly want to go. So I think, yeah, I'm looking forward to going. Me and Larissa and Loki are going, so that's going to be really interesting.
Loki!
I've never been on holiday with my cat before, so yeah, that's going to be really interesting. What do you normally do on the 4th of July? Is it fireworks? What do you do? What's the meal? Do you normally eat a big dinner and stuff?
Actually, I can tell you, I have layers of experience since then. So here, I kind of just roll my eyes and go, "No, man, hold off. Like, we'll do it soon." Because I always shifted off to our Ukrainian Independence Day. No, historically, I mean, I can say I've personally done a lot of different things that I think are relative to or relevant to our conversation, which is um, made food that we brought to others. Like literally just went out and I was more in the food making moment and I just made a big chunk of it. So I'd have the part that would be for me and the couple people in my house, but then the rest we'd go find someone and sit down and go enjoy this delicious set of ribs. So that would mean that I would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and have a ground pit out in my backyard that I
Yeah,
would
somebody
like
else just put that barbecue outside.
cultivate. Yeah, I cultivated, and this is literally a ground pit, right? So I cultivated where for 2 hours all that stuff would seethe without any food on it, and then it would finally put that food out there. And by the time I got done later, you could just pull the rib bones out, like you just whoa, nothing. It's all easy. Roasted vegetables inside there. Here's the other thing, though. And this is more serious about what I'll talk about tonight. Is I think that July 4th should be prohibited to insurrectionist Jan Sixers. Can't do it. You sold out. You're done. Anyone who loves the Confederacy, no, you don't get that. You get to go sign up for that other program. If you're a Nazi, yeah, sorry, no 4th of July for you. You don't believe in America that way, so you don't get 4th of July. So all those things right there. And I always have a rule about this anti-immigrant mentality where if you um want someone else to not be able to come in that door to that party, then you don't get to go to the party either. So no party for you. It should be about real independence. And I've always celebrated it in certain ways that was um, somewhat radical, not really radical, because there's other ways to do it, but it challenges the conventional nature that I had when I was in my youth of this great America that had never done anything wrong. I mean, it was that slavery thing. That's literally how it was presented. Like great America, but that thing. And as I've grown older, finding areas where we can talk about what America should be. For instance, tonight I'll talk a little bit about Native American perspective. Like, what if you're part of a civilization that's really old and you got this little phase that's still holding on, but we might last? And like, please last. Hurry, get this phase over with, please. You know, when you see the universe in these long patterns, and I've talked to a lot of First Nation people who have this view, like, don't worry, we know eventually the European experiment will finally kind of die out a little bit. We're just hanging out. So I always
Hang it out.
appreciate it. Yeah, I always appreciate days like the 4th of July to really investigate what makes America what it is. And I don't have the experience anywhere else except in Ukraine now. I have that for 4 years in Ukraine.
Yeah, there's a similarities to. I saw what Zelensky put up about the 4th of July, and yes, certainly, yeah, there's a lot of similarities to independence and constitution and fighting for your freedom. I mean, that's everything
Yeah.
Ukraine's going through now. So, yeah, why there aren't more? MAGA sort of supporting Ukraine. I have no idea why. Well, I do. I mean, I make a living
groupthink,
out of it now.
Well, yeah, it's groupthink. It's sort of a thing I noticed earlier. Someone was pointing out, what was the woman railing against? There was a woman railing against. Oh, it was the discussion of why would MAGA women, particularly a flavor of Christian nationalist woman who says, I don't need to vote. I mean, my husband will take care of that. And what about your daughter? Well, she can pick a good man who will make good decisions. And the same thing recycles. So then
But as long
I
as he's
said,
not black.
right. I said, change the framing of the question. So same metaphor, right? Exact same set of outcomes of power. Reverse the questioning around just enough so that you ask her a different question to see how much power she's really able to give up. And you're going to find that they have a group pattern of speaking that's really never been thought of. They don't really mean half of what they say if you were to just explore it with one more degree. And the reason why I've come to that conclusion is there's some really crafty young people who like to debate at a level that's, to me, boring, but to them it's exciting, right? And I do learn some things sometimes when they push that a little further, and they, because that's their vibe now on YouTube, and they occasionally will finally reveal something in that cluster of thinking that it's like a short circuit because it's on automation, right? I have to say this because that's what my tribe says.
Look at perfect.
Yeah.
Look what happened to Tucker Carlson this week. That
Yeah, what happened with him
pushback
in particular?
is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When the journalist pushed back and went, yeah, but why are you allowed into Russia and I'm not? And
Oh, yeah. Oh, good
yeah,
point.
why
Exactly.
are you allowed in? That little pushback. But yeah, when you get pushing back, they're like, well, actually, the way he went on
Yeah.
about Putin was clearly he's pro-Russian by just what he was saying. It was absolute bullshit and lies he was
Right.
regurgitating.
Well, the easiest one is always
Considering
pro-lifers. Pro-lifers killing doctors. Like tonight, I'll have some Bill Hicks humor in my set. And I've warned people that what we're airing tonight will not go on YouTube. They simply won't let it happen. But I think I'll get away with it over here. But with things like pro-lifers killing doctors, pro-lifers being pro-death penalty, pro-lifers okay if the mom dies as long as the baby's born. Like these contradictions that tell them that they don't
yeah,
really believe most of what they're saying, but they have to commit to a certain thing to get in the club that they've now been accepted in that has verbal rules. And that's as deep as they get with a lot of it, to be honest with you. I'm fairly certain with the majority of that cult, that's really what they're doing.
yeah, I totally agree. Look at Candace Owens' visit in Moscow. I mean, in Russia. I mean,
Mhm.
endemically the most racist place that I've ever been. To be honest, I mean,
Yeah. Well, it's
I,
Mar-a-Lago. I mean, but aside from Mar-a-Lago,
yeah. Aside from that, but yeah, I
the Klan
mean, literally,
headquarters of 2026, Mar-a-Lago.
it's strange how this contradiction is now a way of life. I mean, it's how Trump's operates now, just copying the FSB and the Russian propaganda. Doesn't have to be the truth anymore. The
I'm being a
prime minister I
smartass
met
today. I'm
last
going to
week.
tell you another thing. I'm going to tell you another thing. Did you see what else Trump's copying?
What
Did you see that Trump is copying physical behaviors of people next to him?
is
Did
he?
you catch this? Oh, yes.
I didn't see.
So there's been five. There's one in particular really good out there, but that kind of first brought it up. But it's been catching on by others, and they're saying it's partly because of his frontal lobe dementia. You know, so when someone impulsively does something and he sees it and just goes and he does the exact same physical thing, but he does it before a conscious mind would intervene and go, no, I'm not supposed to do the thing she just did. He's doing this now. He's repeating the behaviors of someone around him, and it's really freaky because
It does strike you as
if you
that.
got good people around, like the pizza lady who's dropping off things and the Bolt driver, that's one thing. But when it's like Stephen Miller and masturbating to like Nazi toys, like I don't want to see that Trump's picking up the repeat message. I
I
don't know who
missed
Trump
that
hangs
one.
out with. I don't know who Trump hangs out with, but
He's like a glove puppet now, Trump, it seems like. So someone's in there going,
he
talk about
is.
NATO. You really need to talk about NATO. He's like, wow, NATO. But yeah, I honestly, I don't know if he's got any faculties left, that guy. I mean, he's just so
No,
full of shit.
no,
I
yeah.
can't think of a. Do you know what? I can't think. I'm 52 years old. I've seen a bit of the world. I've seen American presidents come and go, and I can't think I've seen a most unpopular president in my whole existence as Trump. He's hated
No,
everywhere, everywhere I go. I just don't understand why people would stick up for him or push for him, or I just don't understand it. I mean, the guys are fucking horrible. It's like, to put it bluntly. I mean, it's
the ones that throw me off, like I was going to do this, and I'll ask my audience what they think here, our audience.
I love my American visa, by the way. Don't. I like that. I kind of like that. So,
I understand. But there's that Jubilee show that's like one, progressive versus 20 MAGA. Sometimes they reverse a little bit, but this young man, I can't remember his name. Some of you may know which one it is, but he just went up against 20 MAGA women. And there's one that he's like, come on, seriously, and which one of you will want to sleep with Donald Trump? Oh, well, he's married. Okay, but aside from that, and like that mattered. And there's one woman that walks around and well, I would love to, and you're like, really? Yeah. You really want Donald Trump to fuck you? Yeah. Really? Yeah. Sure. I don't believe you. I think you
if you
like
just
saying it for some reason. That's shock value and all that. But I'll tell you what, get that lady's number, give her a cab, send her to Mar-a-Lago with the ADO guy, and you tell me if she's going to do it. Because Melania is like, I'm out.
we might as well tell people that we're slightly off beat tonight because we've been doing separate things. So we'll go back to our normal agenda.
We do hang out sometimes. How you been, Shaun? I like the cherry trees.
We are
Loki is a
literally
cool
just
cat.
shooting the breeze tonight because it's we're glad we've
Independence
got
Day.
72 people. We're glad you're coming to visit. It's Independence Day, but I'm quite
Shaun, they tried to
interested
kill
to
me
know
with this audience the other night. They tried to kill me live with this audience, and
why.
they got to hear it. How many people here right now were live when I was live for several hours the other night? Were you here with us? They get to hear the booms go on for quite a bit because I moved the studio into the kitchen, which
Oh, you
means
said yeah.
that the door is like right there. So they got to hear the nonstop boom, and that was the night we lost 30 people in a massive strike in my
Yeah.
neighborhood. I mean, it's not when I say my neighborhood, it takes a minute to walk because Darnitsy's a big region area, but and you've seen a lot of footage of that particular building being hit and the Darnitsy region, but 30 locations were hit, and this audience did not miss any of it. They they need to have this information that we have, and more importantly, and thank you for doing this with me, but they need to have our distillation experience the way we step back and kind of look at what is going on and go, how do I explain that to the outside? And we know what it's like inside. We live here. We know how to talk with Ukrainians because we live here.
I agree. My mum said to me, she said, "Isn't your writing getting good? You were so bad at English at school." And I said, "Thanks, Mum."
Yeah.
I said, "Cheers, Mum.
Thanks, right.
Thanks a lot."
Feeling it, baby. Feeling it.
But you get, going on to your point, you get so good at describing things that are going on because it's you that's here. And all I have to do is go back to that moment, sit there and think, how am I going to pitch this? How am I going to write this? How am I going to explain this? And somehow it just all comes out. And I think that that puts you above people because you're actually here going through those emotions, and
Brittany says, can the English be, this is the best question all night. Can the English be bad at English? We ask on the 4th of July.
If you're from London like me, I don't talk like what my friends do, to be fair. And that's pretty bad English. Yeah, I don't talk like what they do anymore. I'm actually,
Is it proper English to say me mum? Is me mum?
Me mum.
Proper,
yeah.
Is me mum?
Drop the H's. Anything with a H, just drop the H completely. Harrow is a place near my mum's house. Harrow is near a place where I was
born.
Harrow. But anybody from there, it's Ara.
Oh, right.
Like a bow and arrow. Yeah, it's Harrow if you're posh. If you're like me, it's Ara. So yeah, we just drop the H's and lazy mouth in London. So yeah, I suppose we speak bad English. I don't speak with a plum, which is for those like Prince Charles. My wife speaks better English than me, and she's Ukrainian.
Now, Sean, is that exactly like was the recessive pronunciation? The flat, what I call the flat vowels.
It's speaking like Hugh
Someone asked me
Grant.
one. Oh, you want me to speak like Hugh Grant? Okay, I
Can
mean,
you?
we could go
No,
that
you
route.
sound like
Uh,
you
uh,
old rock.
I'd have to, I'd have to listen to Hugh's accent, and what I do in particular, I love dialect coaches, and before I came here, I was really into dialect coaches for English dialects because there's at least 28 good dialects to master in the shall I say the proper English Isles, maybe like England, like or
11.
even Scotland. 11,
11.
11.
No, please tell us what floor you want. 11.
11, 11.
Sorry, I don't understand. Please tell me what floor you want. 11.
Who knew you were a great impersonator? Are you talking about Becky? Do you mean me? Actually, tonight I was going to do because so I have a contest for our show tonight. Um, I have a contest. It's
So,
not really a contest. I'm just letting the friends take care of it. So tonight when I do my 4th of July, my question is, do I get this white racist? Is that the shirt for tonight? He was a racist. I'm not an Abe Lincoln fan. I mean, he released the slaves mostly out of cynical mood, which is good. Should have been done anyway. And then there's Reagan, also a racist, but this is my clutch shirt, Psychic Warfare. I love this one. So one of these two, these are the only two I have with me. I don't exactly have a wardrobe that's not Ukrainian, but I just happen to have those. So you guys pick what goes on the show tonight. Um, but
what
one
time
more
is
thing
your show
about
tonight?
yeah,
What
a
time is your
few
show?
hours when I get more selections going. I mean, I got the Jimi Hendrix anthem coming up. I got Born in the USA. I got none of that stuff that Mag is gonna
I
love.
wish I could be there for that.
I
I've
got
got to
some
go and get
Malcolm
through.
X Ballad of the Bullet. Russell Means talking about the Native American expression of
That's
the
cool.
history from a different view. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to quite burn the whole thing down, but the revolution will not be televised. You got to understand, I'm a black nationalist inside with my fist in the air, and I'll tell this story as we go. So one of the last things that happened in Houston, I love the most, fond memory on Hurlingham, 413 Hurlingham Drive. That's the address if y'all want to look that motherfucker up. So this guy used to have an oversized Confederate flag, and I would go riding by that at very high speed because I'm not as fast as your Manx missile, Mark Cavendish, but I'm pretty fast. And I'd fly by, and no 4th of July for you. And I happened to be there for a different reason with police officer out there, and the guy walks up like, "What's your problem?" He wants to start arguing with me with the police officer there. And he says, "Well, he's always harassing me about that flag." And this is a 6'4" black man. He kind of slowly turns and he goes, "Can't imagine why. What else you want to know?" So I really had no problem like harassing as a child of at least four Confederate soldiers, great grandfathers, that were part of that side. I love to burn the fucking South End. I love to call out the Confederacy. But also, I appreciate why we wanted to have a change that is the modern democracy that I think helped England. I think that the changes in England ultimately were pretty good. You guys are pretty good people. I like that
Yeah, we
you
are.
came to tell us how to have a democracy, which was great. We will see that tonight too. That's in the list. That's actually the last item is King Charles giving us the lecture. We had to have
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm just going to improvise, and our friends are going to have time to come in. And I want you to enjoy your trip abroad, and don't worry about us. They'll still attack us, so you don't have to worry.
What did Charles say 250 years ago? Or as we like to say in England, just the other day?
Just the other day, I love that line. That was great.
That's
Old.
pretty good, actually.
I mean,
Charles
when I
did a
was at
good one.
Beacon Hill, Beacon Hill, you know, thousand
Yeah,
years
yeah.
of Roman history, and I was walking down, and I go, right here. Is it from America? Nothing is that old. In Houston, they tear down buildings that are X amount of years old because, like, yeah, we can do better. You know, no one wants to keep anything. It's true. And then there's like the Gilded Age of Donald Trump, where he he literally has to do a 3D like AI kind of imagination of a Reichstag eagle. Uh, I almost did, man. I almost did a Trump.
The
I almost did a
world's
Trump thing.
crazy now,
The
isn't it? It's just
Reichstag
like,
eagle is the Reichstag. It was the
it's
best
crazy.
Reichstag eagle of all time. I had to give it to you guys. Sorry, it's Independence Day. I might as well give you a little bit. You like the.
The world's just crazy now. It's just gone nuts. I mean, it's like I don't know where. It's just like, I feel old sometimes, and I know I've seen a lot, but I mean, this whole this whole shit is this propaganda, MAGA, and I mean, it's not even like New Labour. It's not even Tony Blair's
Oh,
New
oh, oh!
Labour.
Speaking
This is
of,
like,
what is the situation now? You guys had some changes there with Starmer. How's
oh, we've got a
I've
new
totally
new
been forgetting
PM.
to ask you how the new things vibe. What's the
Listen,
vibe going to
mate,
look like?
I
So
don't know
important.
what's going on. When I was in captivity, we had Boris Johnson, and then when I was in captivity, suddenly it became Liz, who lasted about 20 odd days, shortest running PM ever. And then we had Richie Sunak, which was to his friends was Itchy Ballsack. So we had him, and then I don't really know who he was. I didn't mind Boris; he was a bit of a plank, but he at least he was a good orator. And everybody loved him in Ukraine. But
I
you
know.
can't really have a prime minister go, no, he was just a good lad. He's just, he's a bit of a comedic joke, but, I don't know. And now Starmer, I've lost contact with a lot of what's going on in England. And then I don't even know who Andy Burnham is. But people going, well, Andy Burnham is a PM now. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't even know who
but
he is.
there's also going to be an adjustment in the British forces based on our drone combats. Some
I know
asymmetric changes in the drone forces. So
I know that they're calling up as a reservist now, up to 65. So I've spent my life in the military. You're damn right they're going to flipping call me up after 13 years, 15 years in the military. They're going to call me out.
right,
And I'll say, good luck with that. Come and get me from Ukraine.
right,
But yeah, apparently it's part of their, the Russian threat. They need to look at manning.
sure,
So
that's right.
they're looking now at a dad's army that will probably take on the guards and manning the bases in the UK and allowing the younger lads to go and fight for the country. So it's quite an interest. Long overdue. I'm not against that. I'm not against Dad's army if you're able to fight and you want to fight. I think
Yeah.
I think it's good. You're still committed to your country, but yeah, I mean the whole world's changing now because of Putin's invasion of Ukraine, and even to the point now we're looking in the UK at getting more manning. So interesting time. I mean, we've seen in Ukraine what in the military, the British military, for example, if you've got one leg shorter than the other, you won't get in the military. It don't matter if your brain's really good and you've got the IQ of Stephen Hawking. Because you've got
Yeah.
one leg smaller than the other, you're never getting in the military. And that's just balmy. The one thing Ukraine has done really well is tell people there's a job for everybody. And drones,
Yeah.
nowadays, it doesn't matter if you've got one leg shorter than the other, or you've got a problem with your back or something. If you're flying a drone, how's that going to affect you if you're sat in Kiev or in the rear or,
Bro, I've seen soldiers who have two tong, what do you call it? Or shit.
fake arms,
When we, two fake guards. What's the
prosthetics.
proper term? Prosthetics. Sorry, but they were taught. They didn't even put the hand like Esper hands on. They were taught literally wiring, soldering FPV and other components together
Yeah.
with a determination that was like really bled. Okay, I may have lost some arms, but I'm still gonna like take you down, Russia. And a focus and a calmness that kind of creates an internal tension in me with people who are not finding some way to serve. And when I say some way to serve, and I'm very specific about this, since I'm the new guy in town, even though I've been here over 4 years, I'm still the new guy. Um, there are so many ways to help here that I see people that you would think they're not really serving in the country, but they are. Like they're busy doing logistical stuff in the background. That if they didn't do what they were doing, a whole bunch of people would have a
Yeah.
lot of problems. And that is very flexible in war, what that means. It's just better than the part that goes, I hope someone else works it out, and I hope we're all safe tonight.
Yeah,
And I hope
exactly.
someone else has it covered. And I guess so long as there's X amount of men in line, I guess we're good
yeah.
today. That mentality, yeah.
That's the one thing that's great about Ukraine is that the people they see the press ganging off the streets occasionally and people being taken snatched, but they don't actually see the people that volunteer, which is stuff I've been putting on my YouTube. They don't even talk. Dimko was a volunteer. He didn't have to.
Right.
Where does anybody want to talk about that? No. But he's the one that was sort of saying, you can find a job for anybody. 80-year-olds building cam nets, because that's what he wants to do to contribute to the war effort. You've got
Right.
housewives, mums. The three of them just got awards from Zelensky, and they're part of the air defense units that take out the Shahed drones. I
Right.
served with a woman's.
Well, and let's build on that for our future conversation, because you'll be going abroad when you come back. We talked about this with Dimko about what, especially like with America, what America has to think about with mobilization in light of what happened with Iran. If the average person suddenly had to learn drone techniques, what do you think? Let's leave this as the final thought for tonight. What do you think that you saw here happen with normal Ukrainians that should translate both to Americans or even Brits to say, you don't know when you suddenly going to have to go learn some drone skills?
You want me to answer that now, or are we taking that with us?
Give me a short preview of what what you think the audience should be thinking about until we come back on it, because I think we're too
I
close
think we
to
live in
a
a.
very important topic where our people here, a range of people, all the way up into their 70s, like my 70-year-old friend Tatiana, who's the oldest member in the services as a woman.
Yeah,
She's still learning stuff. She's still a combat medic.
I think in the West we've got our cultures sort of changed a lot. I get to travel. I went to Holland recently, and he says we've got a culture that just doesn't believe in fighting for the country anymore. Who
Mm,
really would get they see a career in a call center, which is really sad. To be
mm,
fair, that call center mentality. We've got the same problem in England. When I ran a business there, from 2000 to 2015, I went with the intentions of hiring Brits. Could I get Brits
mhm.
to do the jobs I wanted them to do? No, they weren't interested. I was going Lithuanians in the end, Greeks, Polish people. They weren't interested in working on a waste recycling plant or, repackaging polystyrene for shipment out to China. They just weren't interested in that. Could I get
Right,
English guys to come and do that sort of work? No. So I went with all the
right,
best intentions. I think that says a lot to where our culture is. Most countries within the West now don't see the military as a career. I think I'm an advocate of the military, and it trains the untrainable. It gives you
right,
transferable skills. It gets you fit. You get to train 3 times a day. You're committed to your country, and you get a sense of well-being and service. Even if you're the wrong side of the tracks, you're not going to be if you join something like the military. But those days are gone, and those warriors and those people that did do that, the British government just made them redundant, too old to do the job,
mhm,
kicked them out
mhm,
of the military, cutbacks.
mhm,
I mean, those are the guys, the veterans that were holding the military together.
mhm.
And now, unfortunately, now we're down to 70,000, I don't know, defence force. We're not even an army anymore. We could probably struggle to put 2 brigades together. So I don't
You
know. I
talk
mean,
about British forces.
we've literally lived a comfortable life where
Let's
we've now got.
can we land it like this thing, because it's just too perfect. Ready? Yeah. You used to be an empire.
Oh, fucking did. Don't get me started.
Come
The
on,
Russians
Torm.
trolls,
Happy Independence Day. Love you so much.
the trolls still bloody
I
do it.
lured you right into that, bro. Love you so much,
The
bro.
trolls still think we're an empire. You know what I mean? They talk
But
about
you are.
colonialism. We're not. We're like, we got a
And I think
commonwealth.
it's
We've
actually.
got
I think it's
certain.
actually. I really like UK now, but I will say America
Oh,
should
that's
pay
good.
attention to this. Especially you. America should pay attention though to what that model looks like, about how constantly pulling back. the power. Like we
Yeah.
have that now with pulling back forces out of different parts of Europe to play around and play games, and it's okay. Empires fall like that on a regular basis. They shift and lose power.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, we've lost a lot of. We still punch above our weight for the size island we are, but think about where we were, but where we are now, it's just
No, same here, my
can't
man.
even get
Well,
100,000 soldiers together.
yeah. Well, on the 250th anniversary of whatever we did a few years ago. Thanks, my British brother.
Thanks, thanks,
And
septic tank.
to our viewers, please consider a paid subscription to Shaun's work. I know what he does behind the scenes. We talked throughout the day. I've said this to you before. We talked throughout the day. He stays very busy until suddenly we can coordinate when it's late afternoon, and he's put a lot of work into an article to get that information out there. But he's also doing it often to talk about how he can bring that to you guys. And we have all agreed, just like I said, who I talked with yesterday and the other friends here, we like this platform because you're genuinely interested. That's what makes this connection better. It's not a cast out into the internet.
Absolutely.
Hopefully it lands dynamically together. So see you soon. Enjoy your travels to Portugal and
Bye,
to
everybody.
Loki. Behave and see
Normal
everyone.
normal service will resume next time we meet.
That's right. And right now it's 10 p.m. here in Kyiv. So
It
I've got
is.
a couple of hours of planning, and then I'm bringing you guys a 250th 50th birthday. I remember 1976 when I was 7 years old, and we had like the bicentennial, and we were so excited.
What's
And
the
now
earliest
it's
memory you can remember?
that I can remember
Yeah.
Watergate.
Really? You remember
So
what?
yeah, so I was a kid. My mom said it was what I would do is I would watch Watergate and cartoons, and I don't. What I remember is sitting in front of the television because it was afternoon
That
hearings,
solves a
and
whole lot.
it probably it explains why I like news. But she said I was always like that. That I would watch something really serious like that, and then flip over to whatever the cartoon was on the channel. Just kind
Watergate
of
and
like,
cartoons.
yeah, just watch that stuff. And the way I remember it was that the government was on trial. I didn't know anything more than the government was on trial, is how I remember it. Not Nixon or Republicans and Democrats or a break into a hotel, any of that stuff, but just the government's on trial. And it was big, and it explains why when I was later in government class and stuff, it was natural for me. All that stuff was easy. So tonight we will have some fun with this stuff. It is meant to have a kind of a lighthearted thing, and more importantly, because I live in war, it's a cathartic thing for us to just not talk about the goddamn war some more. We're at 1,600 days, Shaun, of this full-scale invasion almost. Within the next couple of days, we'll be at 1,600 days of full-scale invasion, bro.
I know. 3 days. I think they're a bit behind schedule.
Yeah. All right, Slava Ukraini.
Slava. See you, everybody.
І пиздець Російській Федерації.